Hey, so today's question I want to answer is from a member of the creating community, and the question is, how do you create powerful questions? How do you create powerful questions? And so I've been sitting here silently contemplating this question, and the first thing I'm doing is looking at the specific words in the question and trying to figure out what is this question actually about? What does it mean? And so I reinterpret it as, how do you create questions that make a substantial difference in a small amount of time? So making a difference divided by time is power. So powerful is making a big difference in a small amount of time. How do you come up with questions that make a big difference in a small amount of time? Okay, so that's what I've been sitting with. And wow, I immediately saw that this is just been a passion of mine since I was young. I've just my curiosity has always driven me, and I think the more I realized that I could serve my curiosity by asking questions, the more fascinated I became with questions and inquiry, and that's what probably led me to studying physics and math, trying to figure things out, being led by my curiosity. And I think studying physics had a lot to do with how to ask great questions, because physics is all about taking the physical world and turning it into a language of mathematics that gets really specific and analyzes, and you figure out how to describe the reality well. The better questions you ask, the better answers you can get. And I do want to share something that's in me that I see that happens. What is it in me that has me create questions that make a big difference in a small amount of time? And so in sitting with that, I saw today something that I think and hope can be useful, that I kind of do pretty much habitually now, unconsciously. But I can see the process, and I remember times when I've been conscious of doing it. So I want to take a question that's a standard question that people might ask, that's comparatively to the second question I'll share is not very powerful. In its own right, it can be, but let me use in a relative sense. So 2 questions. The first question, the general question, the not powerful question we're saying today is, what do you want? That's a question that you could ask. A person could ask somebody, what do you want? Right? And the problem with that question is it's really broad. You might want to know what somebody wants, but here's the thing. When we ask a question, it's because we want to know something, but beneath our wanting to know is other stuff that we want to know. Maybe the thing that we want to know next, or maybe the more subtle or nuanced thing that we'd like to know. Once I know that, then more specifically what I want to know is this. And so the process I go through in my mind now, because I've gone through it so many times externally, but the process I go through is to really slow down, connect, and ask myself, what is it that I really want to know? Like if I'm asking them what they want, is that just what I want to know, that general, or do I want to know something more specific than that? And through asking the people the question, what do you want, over and over again, and finding out that once they answered me, I had to ask them more questions, I started to become aware that actually when I was asking somebody, what do you want, there were a number of things that I actually wanted to know that were more specific than that. And the question I now ask instead of that most of the time is, what would you love to create today? What would you love to create today? And so if I ask somebody what they want, it's like, well, I want $1 million. Cool. Or I want to travel. Cool. Or I want to take care of my partner, or whatever it is. Or I want to be successful at my job. Or I want to pay the bills, or whatever. A bunch of different answers. And when people were answering that, one thing that I saw is the answers would be anywhere between things that they wanted because they thought they should or had to want them, or they're supposed to want them to be safe, to be okay from fear, and there were things that they would really, really love in their hearts. And my work is particularly interested in helping people to create what they would love with their heart, what they would really love. And so for me to say, what do you want, when I actually want to know what would you love, I'm not asking as powerful a question when I say want. So the more specific question for me is about love, not want. It's a wanting from a certain area. And so I bring that specificity in the question. Another thing that I noticed when people do, when I ask, what do you want? They answer from a place of, these are the things that I can want because I'm allowed to want them, because I believe in my ability to achieve them, or I believe that it's socially acceptable to want this. And so it's not what do you want, it's not even what do you love, It's what would you love to create today? What would you love? Not what do you want, or what do you love? It doesn't even sound right. But what would you love? And that the word would is there specifically to account for a person's sometimes unwillingness to claim something that they want, to say that they want something. And it's kind of like saying, if it were okay to love anything, what would you love? And so the word would is a way of specifying and making more of a difference in less time, because it's focusing me in on what I actually want to know. I don't want to know what the things that they would love to create that are just like socially acceptable, or that they, actually you can't really access what you'd love to create from fear because I'm using the word love. But it's just another way of handling, like if infinite possibility is where what we were talking about here, then that's what the word would is for. It focuses a person towards what I'm actually looking for. What would you love to create? Not what do you want in the sense of what do you want the universe to give you, or you don't have to take any action. And I'm also, when I'm talking with somebody about what they want, I'm actually working to connect them. The next step is to help them connect with their agency to bring that into the world, their role in the dance. And so by putting the word create in the question, I'm actually getting us past the second question. What would you want? What do you want? Okay, great. Now we got that. And now I have to try to talk to you about what it means to create it and help you find your agency. Well, I'm just going to bring that right into the question right up front. So what would you love to create? So what would, infinite possibility, love from your heart, not just general wanting. And to create, you have an agency that you're connected to. You're connected to your power to bring something into the world when you're actually contemplating what would from infinite possibility from your heart. And then the last word that I put in there is today, because I might ask people what they want and they might tell me, and there is a time for that, and I might talk about all the things a person would love in their life from now into eternity, if they're living eternally, and they might tell me all those things. But then after I ask them all that, after we go through all that, then I'm going to say, okay, now that you've said all that, what would you like to create today? And so if I'm going to ask that question later anyway, I'd rather save some time, increase the power of the question, and just ask it right now. What would you love to create today? It's more powerful than what do you want for me, because what I want, what I would love to create, are all the things inside that question. And so instead of asking what do you want and then having to ask another question, to get to all the answers that's going to bring up essentially the answer to what would you love to create today, I just ask it right up front. And how do I do that? While reflecting on all the different questions I seem to be asking people and how I can move those all into one question through witnessing my experience of doing that with people, but on an ongoing basis, closing my eyes, slowing down, and asking myself, what is it that I really want to know here? So that's a question I actually, now that I say that out loud, it's familiar. What do I really want to know here? What do I really want to know? And when I ask myself that question, I take pause. It's a way to orient me towards more specificity in my own inquiry. That helps me to figure out what it is I really want to know, what would I really love to create with this person, and then from there, the more specific question comes. I hope that's helpful. If you have questions about how I create questions, then leave a question down below in the comments. And if you're in the creating community or here watching Creators Class, please keep watching, please keep reviewing. It's the best way to learn how to create who you are, to have the way of seeing yourself and the patterns that help you create everything you want in your life. And if you're not already part of this community and these classes, get yourself signed up. I'd love to support you. This is John Patrick Morgan saying my full name, signing off. I love you guys. Bye for now.